Republican nomination. Sir, I want to pick up where we left off. You know, we hear from political pundits all the time, oh, Americans just don't care about national security when it comes to how they vote. But you are the only candidate who has gone to both Israel and Ukraine during this campaign, at least only one still standing. Why was it important for you to go?
So I think if you want to be president of the United States, you have to see these things for yourself. You can't count on reports from pundits or the press or from other folks in public life. You've got to see it for yourself. And I will tell you, when I went to Israel, Margaret, just a couple of weeks ago, the inhumanity I saw that Hamas rained upon the Jewish people in Israel. I went into one home of a 24-year-old couple recently married. Both were murdered in their small 3-room home. And there were 140 bullet holes in the walls to kill 2 people, Margaret. It's not just the inhumanity that Hamas executes. It's the joy they take in that inhumanity. And that's why Israel has to do what they need to do to eliminate that military threat. And I think I would not have completely understood it and couldn't be an effective president if I didn't see it for myself.
We'll see if some of the other candidates go. One of the things that I also want to pick up on that we see voters responding to thus far is abortion. You know, it's been a galvanizing issue in favor of Democrats. We've seen that a few times now. Are you concerned that in a head-to-head that will help to buoy the president himself as he runs for re-election? And how does a Republican candidate like yourself take the issue to the national stage when the message for decades has been it's a state issue?
Look, Margaret, I've been consistent on this. I believe the conservative, smart approach is to let the states make these decisions. And that's what I think they should do. And that's why I said I wouldn't sign a 6-week national abortion ban as Governor DeSantis. And now just recently in Iowa, Governor Haley has said she would sign a 6-week ban. I don't think you can say one thing in one place and something else in another. And you need to be consistent. For 50 years, Republicans have argued that the Supreme Court took this decision away from the people. I think this belongs in the hands of the people of each individual state. We see a great Democratic, small d, event going on right now across the country in places like Michigan and Kansas and Ohio where people are voting. Let's let the American people vote in their individual states and decide what they want this policy to be.
So better for the party not to have a national policy, essentially, is what you're saying.
I believe that's true. I believe that's what the Constitution guides us to do, and that's where we should stay, and that's where I've been. And I'm concerned, quite frankly, Margaret, that, you know, candidates in this race have been all over the block on this.
Yeah.
And it's not right. People deserve to have a straight answer from you, and that's my straight answer.
So also giving a fairly straight assessment is Liz Cheney, the former congresswoman who just did an interview with my colleague John Dickerson and told him the United States is sleepwalking into a dictatorship. Bob Kagan, writer in the Washington Post, had an op-ed saying after Super Tuesday in March, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee, and what happens there will be a swift and dramatic shift in the political power dynamic in his favor, saying all Republican critics, perhaps even yourself, will fall silent out of self-preservation. Is that how you see your party behaving after March?
Look, I can't speak for everyone in my party. I can only speak for myself, Margaret. And anybody who knows me knows I will not be silent. I haven't been silent since the day I got into this race. And in fact, unlike others, you know, Nikki Haley says he was the right president for the right time, and that for some reason, you know, drama and chaos seem to follow him. The reason is that he acts like someone who doesn't care about our democracy. He acts like someone who wants to be a dictator. He acts like someone who doesn't care for the Constitution. In fact, he's even said himself he'd be willing to suspend the Constitution if an election wasn't going in his direction. Margaret, I was the only one on that stage going back to August when we were asked, would you support someone who, you know, was convicted of a felony for President of the United States? Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, they all raised their hand. I did not. And I think I've made it very, very clear how I feel about this. And if folks want to return to some decency and civility, why would you ever vote for Donald Trump?
All right. Christie, we'll watch.